everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Little Give. Today we have Heidi with us. Heidi, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us where you're from and what you're all about.
Great. Thank you, Cindy. My name is Dr. Heidi Gregory-Mina, and I am a professor. I'm a publisher. But really what I'm all about at the end of the day is all about giving back to others. And that's what motivates me, what truly is passionate for me. Everything that I do is focused on some form of mission or vision or supporting a social cause. And so during the pandemic, it gave me a lot of time, as I'm sure other people had the chance, to really kind of reflect on that next phase of life, the next things that I really wanted to do. And one of the things that was really dear to me was that I wanted to really, over the next decade or so, really focus in on how can I make a greater impact and how can I give back more to society. And being a professor, literacy is very important to me. And also having a daughter who's 3 years old, children literacy is very important to me. So I decided to work on a company called Leap Forward Publishing. And one of the things that I really wanted to be different with this is that I wanted everything to be about benefiting other people. So we have two major programs through our publishing house that people do need to publish through and sell their books through. One is either Get a Book, Give a Book, or the other one is called Make a Difference. And so it doesn't matter what genre you're in. It doesn't matter, what type of books you like to publish, but it would make a difference in terms of which program you're in. So if you're in the children's book genre, you would be in Get a Book, Give a Book. And that particular program works with nonprofits. Right now, we're focusing on nonprofits here in the United States. Eventually, we'd like to expand beyond that. But really, the idea is someone purchases a book for themselves and a book is donated to that particular nonprofit. And those nonprofits that we vet very specifically are serving underserved communities that don't have access to new books and books for students in the classrooms. We want to make sure we're getting a book into the hands of children that truly need it to give them a better future. And then the remainder of the books go through our Make a Difference program. And it's a similar concept, but there it's more a monetary donation that goes to either a children's literacy program or an adult literacy program as well, because we need to make sure that we're supporting people at all levels. So those are the types of programs that we look towards supporting and giving back. And that was, very important to me as a mission for Leap Forward Publishing.
Wow, what a fantastic mission. So what was it that initially sparked the idea to do that as your mission? I know you said you had gone through the COVID situation and really you started thinking about what you want to do over the next 10 years. How did you really hone in on this idea in particular?
So, I started working on probably about 4 or 5 years ago, really started working on this idea of writing my own children's book. And I really wanted to wrap it around my dog and my experiences with her. And I wasn't 100% sure what I wanted those stories to really look like. So I think it took me a while to really kind of pull the trigger as I was developing and kind of culminating the ideas. And then when my daughter was born, it really became even more important to me that I provide a book that not only for entertainment purposes, but have social missions behind it. And that was what propelled me forward, because everything that my dog and I we went through a lot of adversity between her. She's a pug. So when we did agility and other dog sports, it's not common to see breeds like that. So there was a lot of barriers that we had to overcome. There were a lot of stipulations. There was a lot of health issues that we had to deal with throughout her career. And we were still able to persevere. And she became the #1 pug in the nation for many, many years. And so I not only wanted to honor her and share that story and start that series, but every single book is focused on a social cause or a social mission, something that a child can learn, but also have fun in learning. So the first one, as we see here, is Capable of Anything. And that is really Hazel's first experience going to a seminar with border collies and Australian shepherds and other dogs that were really more known for the breed. And, people kind of snickering and saying, oh, well, you're a pug, you can't do it. And then her, working through that adversity and actually becoming friends with all the other dogs and shows them that she's capable of doing anything as much as anybody else is doing it. So that was a very important mission for me and a very important statement. And again, all the books that I'm writing are going in that direction with those social causes. So that kind of was the first step in that direction. And then I've also, as a professor, I've had on the back burner other books that I've wanted to read and write and publish and put out. And over the years, what I've really spent the time doing is what engages other people? What do people really want to read about? And where are they connecting with the material versus your standard textbooks that are out there now? And really, at the end of the day, it came down to storytelling. So all of my books are written through a very storytelling approach where we create theory to the practical application through that method, and with the idea and goal of engaging our readers. And everybody that kind of comes through Leap Forward Publishing, we encourage them to kind of follow those type of processes. And that's what kind of got me going and saying, I really want to share my knowledge with other people, and have them also understand the importance of sharing these stories, sharing these missions, share my wealth of knowledge from all the years of being in the classroom and seeing what people really need, especially going into the future. And then culminating that with my nonprofit love and how do I bring something to this that's different. And there's other publishing houses that do, big scholarships once a year or, do programs. But this is something that we do every day, all the time, even if it's just, one book went out the door today, maybe 10 books go out the door tomorrow. They all start to make a difference over time.
Hi, my name is Justin Clark, and I'm the president of the board of directors for Driving Single Parents, a 501c3 nonprofit serving the citizens of San Antonio and Bexar County, Texas. I'm here today to tell you a little bit about the great work that our organization is doing for the citizens of San Antonio. What you're about to see is just a few photos and videos of the way that we're changing lives for single parents in and around San Antonio, Texas. Our first giveaway took place in April of 2017, just one short month after the formation of our organization. John, a Bexar County resident, was the victim of a horrible drunk driver incident. He and his daughter survived the crash, and we were so proud to give our first car to this deserving family. Fast forward to 2020, a very difficult year for nonprofits. We were able to secure 4 vehicles for single parents in need. Our organization, including our board of directors, list of partners, and portfolio of people we've been able to help in San Antonio, continues to grow, and it's all thanks to donors and local community organizations that have helped us along the way. This giveaway took place in 2021 and shows that we continue to help single parents even after the struggles brought about by COVID-19. Because of limited funds and the overwhelming need, we at Driving Single Parents are incredibly selective with the people we help. Some are victims of domestic violence. Others had a spouse pass away tragically or otherwise fell on hard times. These single parents show adversity in the face of challenge and aren't looking for a handout. We offer a hand up and help get them back in the driver's seat. Many of the single parents we help go on to graduate college, get promotions, get married, mentor others, and some have even been so touched by the gift we gave them that they have decided to join our board of directors to pay it forward and ensure the continued growth of our organization. If you would like to help our organization continue to grow and continue to help single parents in need in San Antonio, Texas, and Bexar County, Texas, we would really appreciate your support. Please visit us online at www.drivingsingleparents.org. Thank you.
Yeah, and I love that the name of the book, Capable of Anything. And that's any child or person reading that can really also feel the same way about themselves, really
Yeah.
relate to that book. So like you said, not only is it, literacy and reading, and that's great,
Mhm.
but it also, people children looking at the book and thinking, "Hey, I can do that too. I'm capable of anything as well." It's kind of empowering in a way, isn't it?
Absolutely. And that was the whole point of it. It was to be able to look at oneself. And, we've all been there through growing up where kids kind of made fun of us, whether it was out of jealousy or just out of, just it was in their own human nature to just poke fun of somebody. And, I want people to learn that just because you might hear somebody say, oh, you can't do that, or you shouldn't be doing this, or that's really not something you're good at. Everyone is capable of doing anything. They need to work hard at it. They need to keep going, especially if they're passionate about it. That's what it is. If you have that true passion, you persevere no matter what. And then you think about the audience that you surround yourself with, and you start to push away that negative talk, and you keep yourself surrounded by people who are positive and people who are really lifting you up and helping you move forward.
Absolutely. And I love that you also took all of that and spun it into this nonprofit. So a nonprofit's not an easy thing to start. Well, where did you start?
So fortunate for myself that I had a lot of experience. I teach in the Masters in Nonprofit program, and I had many years of experience. So, it gave me a little bit of a foot up compared to other people who start. So I also spend a lot of time helping nonprofits kind of navigate that road. And so for me, it was first and foremost making my business plan, no different than a for-profit organization. And I think that's what trips some people up who are working towards a nonprofit, is that they think, oh, this is so different than a for-profit organization. It really is not. Obviously, the finances are slightly different in terms of what we do with our profits. But at the end of the day, we still have to run it as a business. So I started with a business plan, just like you would a for-profit. And then I started working on my paperwork to file for a 501c3. And you just kind of keep taking that one little step forward, next step forward, until you kind of get to where you need to be. And have all those things lined up. And it can seem daunting for a lot of people. I'm fortunate enough that I did have the business background to not feel as overwhelmed by the process. And that's why I like to consult with nonprofits and work with a lot of nonprofits to help them as well, because I do know that it is a hard process, and I want to give them that encouragement and that assistance to get where they need to be.
Absolutely. Yeah, I started a nonprofit, so I can completely relate. I mean, it can be a very daunting task and it can be overwhelming. You think right off, I'm just trying to do something good. And there really is a lot of red tape and a lot of paperwork and a lot of steps to it. And so a lot of people don't know that. So I also do nonprofit startup coaching because I think it's really important. So many people have so many phenomenal ideas and they have the heart to really go out and help others, and they just kind of don't know where to go. So it's good that there's people like you out there who also help in that way.
Yeah, I encounter that almost every day, Cindy, talking to people. I mean, I'm just so inspired by a lot of these organizations and the work that they do and the passion that they have for the work. You just can't help but want to help them because they are doing good. They are making a difference. Sometimes they're hard conversations, though, to have with people, especially, one of the things that we end up having a big discussion usually around is the diversification of finances. And that's really important. And while that sounds really like a for-profit conversation, it's still in the nonprofit world, something that we need to consider. And when we talk about financial pies, we talk about, yes, it's great to have your donors. It's great to have fundraising events. We still need to consider fee for services for the things that we're doing. And then there's that world of grants that can be really daunting and people don't really understand how that goes. And that's probably the piece of the pie that I spend a lot of my time helping nonprofits with, because they're what we refer to as not quite grant ready. And so I help them kind of get up to speed to be grant ready. And that's actually, I have a book in press that's coming out. And as my frustration for teaching for the last, decade, I could not find a good grant writing book for my students or for anybody that I consulted with. You know,
Right.
one book talked a little bit about this, another book talked a little bit about this, and then you plug and play some articles, some YouTube videos. There wasn't really this cohesive document where you could go from step one all the way to post-award management and really understand the full process. So I wrote Ready, Set, Go, Get Granted, and it follows that entire process for people, but it's not only just written in a theoretical basis, it's written with some storytelling, and it's loaded. Every chapter is loaded with steps and exercise. So if I say this is step one, I just don't leave you hanging like, okay, that's great, that's step one. Well, how do we do that? There's actual worksheets there to walk you through doing step one. And now, okay, now we're on to step two. This is the next part. Here's an example of what it should look like. And now here's your space to work on it yourself. And that was not only important to me to bring something to market to help nonprofits, but it's also important to me because one of the barriers with a lot of nonprofits is they don't have large budgets. And so to bring someone in for consulting, to bring someone in for training, to send an employee out to a conference to learn these things, it's just not within their budget. But, you know, most nonprofits have, you know, $30 within their budget to be able to buy a workbook like this. And, you know, with Leap Forward Publishing, when this book comes to market, because this one is so critical to me and in its support of nonprofits, we actually were going to have a scholarship fund for that. So people can donate to that scholarship fund, and nonprofits who really, truly can't afford it and need it for their staff, we will give them, they can apply and we will give them the books. They don't have to pay for them. So that's really important for me as well.
That's fantastic. I'm so glad you did that. That is so needed. I've done the same thing, you know, looked and researched and looked for books and looked and tried to refer people to this, but there's literally nothing. And a lot, like you said, just like a lot of the nonprofits that are really small that are trying to get off the ground, they don't have the resources to go and send someone to a conference to do any of those things. And any dime that they spend on something like that is taken away from their mission. And so I'm so glad that you have written that book. When is it going to come out?
I'm really hoping it's April now. We're shooting for June. It's with my illustrator who's working on all the charts and making it look really nice and presentable so people have an easy time working with everything. So if we stick to our timeline and we don't fall behind, it should be out sometime mid-June. But I would say latest sometime over the summer, it'll be out and available.
That's wonderful. I can't wait to get a copy.
Excellent.
That's awesome. So I love all the things that you're doing. You want to tell us a little bit more about your mission and now where that's going next?
Yeah, so where we are at this point is now we're trying to scale. That's, you know, you get to that first beginning stage, you start working on things. The next step is obviously scaling up. And so what we're really trying to do is get the word out about Leap Forward Publishing, have people understand what it's all about, because one of the barriers, Cindy, that we're up against, and it's completely understandable, is there's such a large conglomerate of self-publishing, I guess you would call them, I guess the language in the publishing area that people have been referring to them as, it's vanity publishers, where you spend a lot of money and they basically publish the book for you. We're not a vanity publisher. We are publishing your book just like all other traditional publishers. It's just that we have a unique program that you need to agree to participate in. And so starting to get the word out so people understand that we aren't a vanity publisher, that we are going to vet your manuscript for credibility and validity and make sure that it is good for the marketplace. And also getting them to understand what these programs are and how these programs make a difference in the world. And so right now we're really focusing on connecting with nonprofit literacy programs here in the US. And once we've really gotten that strong foundation down, then we're going to be starting to look to go overseas and connect with other nonprofits, specifically really getting into areas that, you know, you actually need a schoolhouse and you need running water and you need things before you even can think about having books. So we want to make sure that we're providing, you know, structure and infrastructure and everything that's needed to be able to just have that learning platform. But my first focus again here is the US, because unfortunately, we have some areas like that right here in the Midwest. There are definitely areas that are struggling with infrastructure and things like that, and getting internet to different areas, or at least internet that's expedient and really works. And so we want to make sure that we're really focused here at home first, making a difference, but then ultimately trying to go onto a more global basis. So starting small, scaling up, and then trying to go for that bigger difference.
That's awesome. So if somebody wants to work with you and maybe consider having you be their publisher, what would they need to do? Apply?
Yeah, so they can just go to leap-forward-publishing.com. And when you go to that website right there's information about submitting your manuscript. It's pretty simple. You just have to email it in. And then once we receive it, we do send back a confidentiality agreement, so that way people know it won't be disclosed, it won't be sent out. So if we accept your manuscript, then we'll start negotiating the contract. If we decide that it's not a great fit for Leap Forward Publishing, then we will also reach back out and let you know, but you don't need to worry because you have your protections in place that it won't be distributed or used.
Hi, my name is Andrew Fraley, and I believe that sometimes we all need a little bit of help. If you're in the San Antonio community and you need some legal help, call me at 210-725-4658.
Yes.
So what kind of manuscripts are you looking for? Is there like a certain genre, or what type do you prefer?
So right now we're really focusing in, just because of our programs, we have a big market for business books. We have a big market for children's books. I would like to get into some other, mystery writing, novel writing, things like that. We're really not limiting the style of books right now that we're going to look at. But again, it's, if we feel it's a good fit for the market, then they would be something we would consider.
Oh, great. So they could just send in what they have, and then,
Yes.
you guys will just look it over, and it
Absolutely.
could be
And that's the one thing I think that holds authors back is, and I know that was a little bit of my fear for, you want to submit something in the state of perfection, right? Because you want it to be that home run right out of the ballpark. It's okay. We're not looking for that home run out of the ballpark. If your manuscript is done, but it still needs editing, it still needs a little work, that's fine. We just want to hear the story. We can gather that from a manuscript. We can gather what you're trying to get across, and we can determine if that's a match. And then once that's in place, then we have the coaching and the editing and everything. What we don't like to do is we don't like to change people's stories, or we don't like to change their voice in the story, because they're what it's about. The reason your story is good, it's because of what you're sharing as an author. And so, but what we focus on is making sure we're grammatically correct, that it's readable, and that things like that. But a lot of fear comes from also, they're going to change it so much, it's going to change the meaning of what I was trying to get. And our goal is to not do that. If we selected you, it's because we read your manuscript and we appreciate the story you're sharing and the information that you have on those pages. And so we have no interest in changing that. We're just going to fine tune it to get it ready for market and make it presentable.
Awesome. So once someone submits it and say y'all accept it, how does the social impact part of it work? I know that there's something tied to that. So could you explain a little bit about how that works?
Yes. So in the contract, we'll put their book into one of the two programs, depending on what it is. If it's the children's book, it'll go into Get a Book, Give a Book. If it's in another genre, it'll go into Make a Difference. And it will be part of the contract, the royalty agreements. The author is free, once the book is published, to sell their book wherever they wish. But Leap Forward Publishing will also continue to sell their book on our website through these programs. And if books sell through these programs, they'll get a small percentage, and then the nonprofit gets the remainder. Or if it's a book give, then they'll get a book.
Awesome. Okay, so it's all just there in black and white for them. They agree upon, and y'all agree upon, and then that's how the partnership happens. Oh, that's
absolutely
great.
And it's all done through legal contracts, and then we get to work.
That's awesome. And I love that a portion of it goes to all these nonprofits and really does carry on that social mission, because it's so, so important. And y'all make it easy for her. You make it easy for the author, because they just do their part, and then you do your part, and it helps everyone.
Yeah, and we make the connections with the nonprofits, and it's really just about, even if one nonprofit this month gets 5 books, and then another nonprofit next month, maybe we ran a bigger campaign and they got 100. Because the other things we are working towards scaling and doing is having other bigger events where we can actually send an author for an author signing to maybe an event that they're having, or a fundraiser that they're having where appropriate. And that's another way then the sales would go to them at the end of that event. And the nice thing about this is because we're collecting it and we're making a donation to them, they don't need to worry about their 501c3. Did they just take in taxable income? They're getting a clear donation back to the nonprofit.
Oh, wow. That's wonderful. So where do you think this will all be in 5 years as part of your vision?
So my vision in 5 years is that we will have connected with all of the nonprofits that have literacy programs here in the US, and that they will all know about our program and either choose to participate, which I hope they would choose to participate. And then if for any reason that they don't, that's okay. But we're hoping to get as many on board as we can. And by that point, maybe starting to scale internationally to some other areas.
Wonderful. Wow. I love it. I hope that it just continues and continues, and you continue to continue your mission and get it all as the dream you've envisioned.
Yeah, and that's the hardest part, is really just getting the word out there, and getting people to understand what we're all about, and that, what our programs are trying to do and accomplish.
Right. So our show is all about the little give. So I always ask this question, which is, can you give our audience an example of a little thing that they can do that might be something small on their part, but might make a big impact on the other side?
Reach out to your closest nonprofit and do whatever you can for them, whether it's give 50 cents, 25 cents, $1. Maybe you can't give anything, but maybe you have an afternoon free and can go volunteer for their program. Donate, a supply, get some perishable food, non-perishable food, not perishable food, non-perishable food, and drop it off at, a food bank. Any little tiny thing. I challenge everybody to try to just do at least one little thing a month. And if everybody were to do that, all the nonprofits would be benefiting tenfold.
Absolutely. And like those little things really, really do add up. So I think
They
that's a great
do.
example of a little give. Fantastic. So is there a time in your life where somebody maybe did a little give for you and it made an impact on your life?
There's been a lot of little things over time. Just the other day, I was in line at Starbucks and somebody paid for my coffee in front of me. And that just absolutely brightened my day. I was leaving Macy's the other day and the sales clerk was running after me and I wasn't sure why. And he gave my daughter a toy. I'm still not 100% sure why, but that's just the kindness. And then, just when I see people opening doors for one another and things like that, and just, respecting everybody.
Awesome. Wonderful. Yeah, there really are so many kind people in this world. And
There really
if
is.
you just look around, you'd be
Mhm.
astounded by the kindness that is everywhere. So
Yes.
I love that. Wonderful. So do you have any nonprofits that you're excited about that you've come in contact with that you'd like to share with our audience?
Yes. So one of the ones that we are working with right now is Kids Need to Read. They're in Arizona. And so they really focus in on getting books into the hands of local school systems, libraries, in underserved communities where there is a lack of resources and supplies. And they do a tremendous job building libraries, stocking libraries. And it's just unfortunate that, inflation hasn't made things easier on families. And then on top of it, books do fall in the category of discretionary spending. So, when it comes down to making that choice between, getting the groceries and getting the book, unfortunately, the groceries have to come first. But that doesn't mean that literacy still isn't important. So getting these books into the hands of children, look at the smiles on their face. How can you just not love the joy that brings? And so that's an organization that we're currently working with and trying to get our children's books out to them so they can distribute it to schools in that area.
What a beautiful mission. And you're right. You could just see in those kids' faces, they're so happy. And, it is sad that, unfortunately, it is a discretionary item for families who are just trying to put food on the table. So I'm glad that there's these missions out there like yours and like the one you just shared that are solving that issue and helping those families. That's fantastic.
Absolutely. And that's, I mean, just one other small impact people can do is they can look at their local schools to see if there's teachers asking for things. I donate personally to a school in New Bedford, and they do serve an underserved community, but they have a lack of resources. And, there's a couple of teachers there that reach out and they just ask to sponsor a child $10 for the entire school year. And that means that when the Scholastic Book Fair comes every month, that this particular child won't be the only one not getting a book. They'll get a book that month in their hand, and we get pictures and the smiles that are on their face that they've been included and that they're there with everyone else and they're no different than the person they're sitting next to. It just makes you feel so good that you were able to do that for them.
What a phenomenal idea. I have never heard that one before, and I've never even thought of that, but you're right. It just simply just $10 or $15 or drop off maybe some Crayolas or just anything that's on the supply list, just helping those families. It really make a huge impact, especially on a child who might have to go to school on the first day of school without those items and kind of be singled out that they don't have what they need. So providing that can really make them feel like everything's okay. So I love that.
And it balances everybody out, and it just helps give them a step forward and give them more confidence walking into that classroom.
Wow, that's wonderful. So is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience?
I just would hope that, everybody really thinks about social missions, what they can do to help further them. If anyone's, interested in supporting a nonprofit, but not really sure where to start, please feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to have those discussions, maybe try to connect you with somebody that you can maybe volunteer. There's so many projects out there. I have, even with my professorship, I have so many nonprofits that contact me, and we even bring projects into the classroom for our students to do to give back to the nonprofit. So anybody who's looking to do any sort of volunteer work or anything, please, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to, help connect people and get these projects done. And that would just be something that I'd love to share with people too.
Wonderful. I love all the things that you're doing to help others. And I like that you're encouraging other people like, hey, maybe you want to help, but you don't know where. Hey, reach out.
And that happens because sometimes we just don't know where.
Yes. Don't know where to start. It can seem, if you Google nonprofit, there's a whole list and you kind of can get lost in the mix. So it's good to have the resources like you do to be able to guide people in the right direction based on what they want to give to. So that's wonderful. So tell our audience how they can get in touch with you if they'd like to know more about you, your mission, or the nonprofit you featured today.
Absolutely. So pretty much if you just go on social media and you put in Dr. Heidi, I'm going to come up. I'm under Dr. Heidi, the business psychologist. I'm also on Facebook under Leap Forward Publishing. And my email address is Dr. Heidi Gregory-Mina @gmail.com. So, and Instagram, it's at Dr. Heidi _. So any of those will connect you to me.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being on with us tonight. We really appreciate you. You keep up the good work, and I look forward to seeing where you go from here. I know it's going to be great places.
Thank you so much, Cindy. I appreciate you having me on.
Thank you. Thank you all so much for watching this episode of The Little Give with me tonight. I really enjoyed how Heidi took her passion for nonprofits and turned into a publishing company that's focus is on helping other nonprofits and helping underprivileged youth with literacy and books. What a fantastic cause. I also really loved when she spoke about the nonprofit she wanted to feature, which is Kids Need to Read. What a great organization. If you all would like to know more about Kids Need to Read, you can find that information at kidsneedtoread.org. And if you can, please donate $1 or $5. Every little give makes a big impact to a nonprofit. If you'd like to know more about Heidi, or you want to be a guest on the show, or maybe you have suggestions for us, please visit our website at littlegive.com. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.